There's a radio in your head. You didn't buy it, you didn't plug it in, you didn't even ask for it. One day, it just flicked on, quietly at first, like background noise. But now it's the soundtrack of your life. And the wild part? You think it's you? This radio has range. It plays old regrets, new anxieties, imaginary arguments, fantasy award speeches. It says, "You're not enough." Then flips the channel to, "You're too much." Then switches again to, "You really should be further by now." It's relentless. You could be brushing your teeth and it'll bring up something embarrassing from 2008. You could be walking through a quiet forest and it'll compare your life to someone else's Instagram. But here's the joke, and it's so simple you might laugh when it hits you. If that voice is always talking, who the hell is it talking to? You think you're the one thinking, that you're the source of the voice, but you're not. You're the one being talked at, the one listening. And maybe, just maybe, you're not even that. Maybe you're the silence behind the listener, the still space where all the noise bounces around like echoes in a canyon built by memory, habit, and a pinch of drama. Freud tried to map the mess. He gave us the ID, ego, and superego, desire, image, conscience, forever arguing in your skull like bad roommates fighting over the thermostat. The id wants to stay in bed, the superego wants a six-pack and spiritual enlightenment, and the ego is just there with a cup of coffee whispering, "Please, just hold it together." But even Freud left something out: the observer. The one who watches the whole soap opera from the mezzanine, popcorn in hand, fully aware it's all fiction, and yet still emotionally invested. You know that feeling. You've been there. Then Jung stepped in like the philosopher-poet he was and said, "Hey, you're not just the mask you wear. You're not your job title, your trauma, or your Twitter bio. You're the self, with a capital S. And that self, it doesn't perform. It watches, it integrates, it sees the darkness and doesn't run." He spoke of the shadow, the persona, the archetypes playing dress-up in your psyche, and he invited you to step backstage, to look behind the costume, behind the voice, behind the mirrors, to stop playing the game of being someone and just be. But the mind, oh, the mind is clever. It panics at stillness, it feeds on loops. It creates inner dialogue, not because there's anything to say, but because it's terrified of silence. Silence means death to the ego, and so it talks and talks and talks. You think you're debating yourself? You're not. You're watching a puppet show. A thought appears. "I should be doing more." Another responds, "But I'm exhausted." Then, "Maybe I'm just lazy." Then, "Why am I like this?" And just like that, you're 4 acts deep in a tragedy that doesn't need a stage. But here's the secret. You don't have to believe any of it. The voice isn't wise. It's not even original. It's just old programming stitched together by childhood patterns, teenage wounds, and adult expectations. It's the greatest improv show never asked for. And yet, we fall for it. Every time. Until one day something shifts. Not dramatically, not with fireworks or enlightenment beams from the sky, just a quiet click, a pause, a whisper inside that says, "Wait, who's actually listening to all this?" And in that moment, the radio keeps playing, but you're not dancing anymore. You're sitting still, like a mountain, letting the weather pass. Thoughts come, thoughts go. They lose their grip, not because you fought them, but because you saw through them. This flips the whole game, because if you're not the voice, you're not the fear it spreads, you're not the guilt it recycles, you're not the motivational speaker with a God complex or the inner critic with daddy issues. You're the stage, the sky, the damn awareness that's been there since day one, watching the circus, quietly unimpressed. Thoughts still come. That's fine, that's their job. They're like birds. Let them land. Let them fly off. No need to name them, tame them, or invite them in for tea. They're just visitors. And you're the house. And here's the punchline the mind hates most. You were never the main character in that inner monologue. You were never even in the cast. You're the audience, the light, the silence that listens without effort. The canvas thought was painted on and can never stain. So what happens when you stop trying to win the inner war? Nothing and everything. You walk, you breathe, you feel the sun on your face. And for the first time in a long time, it's enough. Not because something changed out there, but because something softened in here. And if something in you just exhaled, if a voice in the background said, yes, this, then don't scroll past like it didn't happen. Subscribe, not for me, not for the algorithm. Subscribe for that version of you that's had enough of inner noise and wants signal, the one that likes their truth wrapped in metaphor, spiced with wit and lit from within. This is your old pal, broadcasting from the edge of thought, where silence gets the final word. Volume, adjustable. You're already tuned in.